Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today I want to talk about Internet Computer because we have a couple of actually really strong developments I would consider that have just happened for ICP and kind of, I guess not for ICP directly, but for their ecosystem, which I think is really good news. And so we'll get into that. But before we do that, I want to kind of do an overall look at the market, where we're at, how things are going there, and then also kind of looking at price action and a lot of that type of stuff. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive right in. Starting out, I wanted to look at the fear and greed index, and what we can see is we have been sitting kind of in the greed zone, probably since about 11 days ago, just shy of about 2 weeks. We've been in greed since then. The market has been looking pretty good overall. Bitcoin has broken out above the descending channel. It's appearing, at least so far, to kind of hold above there. But overall, the market otherwise has been really choppy, and in my opinion, kind of a dangerous market to trade in, just because there's so much uncertainty. I think crypto could see kind of a pretty dramatic move one way or the other, kind of almost immediately. And so I think that right now, kind of as I talked about in my video yesterday, we're kind of sitting in a no trade zone at this point. And so I think that makes the most sense. However, if we look at ICP, we can see that it's been really consolidated over the past couple weeks. And even before that, if we were to look kind of from the end of July onward, it's kind of been sitting between the $7 and $10 range. So, pretty consolidated overall, but particularly within about the past month, we've been only kind of moving between the 860 and 760 range. So, pretty tight consolidation that we've seen here. Hopefully that we do start to see a breakout coming here soon. I do think kind of the longer the consolidation we have and the longer the, kind of the just doing moving around, not doing a whole lot of anything, the more important, or the larger the breakout will be in terms of magnitude. What we can see is RSI is also kind of sitting kind of at the midpoint. I know that this has been kind of the cause of frustration for a lot of ICP holders, just because there have been a lot of alts that have seen fairly substantial moves up. Solana has recently, over the past week or so, seen some pretty impressive moves. Bitcoin's obviously moving. Ethereum's kind of lagged behind, but we have some of these other third generation blockchains, obviously Sui has kind of been the big winner of the past probably 6 weeks or so. So there's a lot going on for other coins and not a lot going on for ICP. But ultimately, I don't think this is a huge deal. Obviously, I would love to see it move just as much as you guys do. But right now, I think we need to kind of focus on what's happening and kind of some of the this ecosystem wide updates that are coming, and what we are seeing is that is really important. We can also see on the Bollinger Bands it's really tightened up, and usually when we see that, we do see a break one direction or the other. It's not necessarily a guarantee that it will be a break to the upside. If I had to guess, it probably would be, just kind of given the state of the market that we're in, but we don't know that for sure. And so I just want to kind of make that point that there is no guarantee on which way the break would go if we do see one. Looking at the altcoin season index, we can see we are kind of still on the Bitcoin season side of things. We are not in Bitcoin season anymore, but we are kind of still, 50 is kind of the midpoint, right? And so we are on the Bitcoin season side of things. So, that's just something to keep an eye on as we're kind of moving through. I do think this explains kind of a lot of the relative boring nature that we've seen, frankly, through kind of most of the crypto market at this point. There's not a whole lot going on. Obviously earlier on in the year, we could see there's, a whole bunch of fun stuff happening, lots of movement going on all over the place, tons of volatility, all that type of stuff. What we've seen recently is kind of the exact opposite of that, right? Not much volatility, not a whole lot of trading going on, not a whole lot of price action, price movement, none of that type of stuff. I think a lot of this is just because there's kind of the general sense of kind of watching and waiting and seeing what happens with kind of a lot of different things. Obviously the US election is the one that's kind of closest at hand, but we also have, a lot of monetary policy decisions. China kind of threw the kitchen sink at their fiscal issue that they're having right now. I think a lot of people are trying to wait and see kind of how that kind of shakes out. Obviously the US appears to be relatively strong right now from an economic perspective, but earlier on, there were definitely some looming recession fears, and so that's something that obviously we need to keep an eye on as well. So there's kind of a lot of that going on recently that is definitely kind of playing into some of the lack of excitement going on within the crypto and the altcoin market. However, sometimes trading, or sometimes when we're kind of bouncing and ranging like this, it can be a nice time to trade. I do trade on Margex. If any of you are interested in trading on Margex, it's no no KYC, no VPN, and you can trade up to 100x leverage on like I want to say like 30 or 40 different trading pairs. So definitely like a decent platform, a decent like variety of stuff to trade on. It does do leverage trading only, so if you're not particularly interested in leverage trading, probably not something for you. But if you are, I would say definitely give it a look, especially if we start to see some of these crazy moves here soon. Obviously, playing some of those on leverage could do really, really well for you, but there is no shortage of risk with leverage. So if you do want to do that, just make sure that you kind of know what you're doing and make sure that you're well aware of the risks before you get into it. So anyway, if you are interested, I do have that referral link in my description. Feel free and check it out if that's something you're interested in. The next thing I want to take a look at is kind of moving on to the recent developments that we've seen as it relates to the ICP ecosystem. And so one thing that we've seen is there's actually this project building on Bitcoin layer 1 using ICP, which if you ask me, like this is the like shining star of like, this is the poster child of what ICP like wants for its ecosystem, right? Like obviously ICP is very clear in the fact that they can do this. They're very clear in the fact that like it's possible for them to like help facilitate a lot of that type of stuff, but we haven't really seen it yet, right? And as we all know, particularly with some of these newer blockchains coming out, they make a lot of claims, and there isn't necessarily a way to truly like verify or test those claims until just kind of happens, right? And so this is something that I think kind of playing toward the kind of the ICP like theory or kind of like how they're going to like kind of progress and grow within the crypto ecosystem. This type of stuff is exactly what we want to see, and frankly what we need to see for that to happen. So what we can see is, so this is the TAP protocol. It's a Bitcoin native smart contracts on layer 1, again powered by ICP, and they actually just launched their coin, I think 2 days ago at this point. So it's very, very recent. It's very, very new kind of within the ecosystem. What we have seen so far is they actually have a bridge both with Ethereum, and then obviously they are on Bitcoin. So you can have their token both Ethereum native or Bitcoin native if that's something that you're wanting to do, which again, super cool, makes a lot of sense. It kind of gives some of that interoperability that that a lot of people are looking for. It gives some access to kind of the DeFi liquidity ecosystem of Ethereum, but then also you're on the mother chain of Bitcoin, which is awesome as well. And so what we can see, DEFINITY, Internet Computer, I mean, obviously two like really big logos for this project. And I would also say, if TAP continues to do well, TAP will be a really, really big logo for DEFINITY and Internet Computer as well. So that's something that's really good. If we look at core features, there's a whole bunch of stuff that they're trying to do kind of on Bitcoin particularly, but what we can see is, developer friendly environment, scalability and programmability, Bitcoin native DeFi, protocol native collections, abstract account or advanced account abstraction, efficient asset distribution, like all this, like this is all, we've seen all this before, right? Governance and upgradability. This is all like ICP stuff. Go figure, right? Because they're essentially being powered by ICP. So obviously a lot of the stuff that ICP enables is going to show up in here. And so, this is a lot of what we've been able to see. If we look at like, Bitcoin DeFi, we've got AMMs, multi-chain bridges, staking mechanisms, a lot of this stuff theoretically should not be possible on the layer 1 without something like an internet computer, right? And so that's kind of cool. Developer friendly environment, again, they've got all this different stuff to kind of help put the developers first and kind of make the building on this platform really easy. Same thing, scalability, programmability, on and on. What we can see, this to me is the most important piece. This is kind of what kind of turned me on to ICP initially, and this is what I think will also help drive the growth on Bitcoin. We can see you don't have to know Solidity or any like super specialized programming language if you don't want to, right? Like you can use JavaScript, you can use Python, you can use TypeScript. These are like 3 really, really common coding languages. Obviously Rust becomes a little bit more niche, and same with Motoko, at least from what I understand. I'm not obviously a programmer, so I may be a little bit mistaken here, but obviously, I know a little bit of Python. Basically every coder that I know knows JavaScript and Python. TypeScript is obviously very common as well. So these are a lot of things that this is hopefully going to kind of lower the barrier to entry for people building on Bitcoin. And this is one thing that I think is kind of a prime market opportunity for both TAP as well as, kind of ICP by proximity. Obviously there's a ton of eyes on Bitcoin. Bitcoin development is kind of one of the major hot topics and has been for probably about the past 2 years now, maybe a year and a half or so. but like there's a lot of attention and a lot of eyes, right? And so that's really, really important, especially for something like the ICP ecosystem where, you know, at least by my measure and a lot of people within the ICP community, like the tech's there, the capabilities are there, it's all kind of done, right? What we need is we kind of need like a breakout moment that shows, oh my gosh, wow, ICP can actually do all the things right now that all these other crypto projects are trying to solve, right? And so that's kind of the main hope of what we're hoping for and what we're looking for with something like a TAP protocol coming out. So, you know, we don't need any side chains, bridges, any of that, because it's all actually done on the layer 1 because of ICP again. So, you know, we've got a lot of stuff going on here. If we look on X, ICP, or sorry, not ICP, TAP actually released a thread that was essentially kind of talking about all of their, like the different benefits and advantages that they have, right? And so I reposted this on my X account. My X account's also in the description if you want to go and actually like read through. I'm kind of going to skim through this just because there's a lot to go through here, and I'm trying to keep the length of this video down at least a little bit. And so, you know, but what we can see, you know, they kind of go through, you know, how does it work? How does it fit within Bitcoin? What can it do? How does it enable like different, you know, development and better development, all this type of stuff on Bitcoin? One of the biggest things that we've seen so far with like BRC20 tokens and runes, if you're familiar with the Bitcoin ecosystem, there's no like liquidity pools or automated market makers. Like if you have like, let's say 1,000 you know, Bitcoins, but they're BRC, well, I'll just pick a BRC. Like TRAC is like kind of the parent company of TAP, right? So if I have 1,000 TRAC and I want to sell 1,000 TRAC, somebody needs to buy 1,000 TRAC. Like if you just want to buy 4 TRAC and I'm selling 1,000, like we can't trade, because what you want to buy and what I want to sell is 2 different amounts, which I think anybody coming from any non-Bitcoin ecosystem, like that's wild, right? Like if you want to buy 4 TRAC, just go buy 4 TRAC, because we have liquidity pools and AMMs and all this type of stuff that can make that happen. Well, not currently on Bitcoin, right? And so I think that's kind of one of the big issues of Bitcoin so far, is it just doesn't have the ability to kind of part out that stuff, and it really causes like a massive liquidity issue. And so being able to have liquidity pools and AMMs and all that type of stuff on layer 1 technically should not be doable if you were building on Bitcoin specifically, but that's why ICP helps, because the programmability and the flexibility of ICP really allows kind of a lot of this flexibility to come on layer 1 kind of by translation, right? And so, you know, we can see why it's significant, all this type of stuff. What I wanted to point out here is, you know, we can see our year 1 achievements, ICP partnership. I mean, this is kind of really the super important piece here. We've got the TAP Ethereum bridge. We got, you know, marketplace, a lot of this stuff that, you know, that we've been able to see and that they've been kind of working through. Obviously all really great. Cross-chain interoperability, again, same type of thing. You know, there's a lot of stuff here that is really, really bullish, and I think is could potentially kind of set off like the new gold rush within the Bitcoin ecosystem, because a lot of the problems that TAP solves are like major problems within the ecosystem, right? And so if they can actually gain traction and gain developer kind of adoption, and we have some more projects building on this platform and this protocol that are actually like finding product market fits, and like people are using them and finding them useful, we start actually having real like Bitcoin DeFi protocols and like apps and stuff that we can use. Like this is really what kind of pushes the ball further down the road. And of course, if it's backed by ICP, then that's obviously, you know, great news for all of us, because then usually when stuff like this happens and there's some, you know, massive success, people will start to look for, okay, well, you know, what's next? How did this happen? These guys technologically are like miles ahead of everybody else. How did they even get here? Oh, ICP, right? And so that's something that I think is kind of what I'm really hoping for, both in relation to ICP price, just as well as like advancement of the overall crypto ecosystem, right? I think if we can come to this conclusion a little bit quicker than, you know, what the market might otherwise, that's going to be a really big and really bullish sign for us, because we now have the ability to like show the world that like there's so much more that can be done on the crypto ecosystem, and obviously that will boost adoption. So anyway, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, please do give me a like and subscribe. It really does help me out. Also, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, anything like that, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Also, with future ICP videos, I would be really interested to know, you know, are there anything any things that you want me to talk about particularly? I've been trying to find some of these kind of ICP adjacent projects, because I think a lot of what is going to push kind of the mainstream adoption of ICP is some of these things that happen. Again, Bob was another meme coin that was built on the ICP ecosystem. That one I think was kind of another one that brought a lot of eyes to ICP. So there's a lot of that type of stuff where I'm trying to find things that are kind of somewhat outside the immediate ICP ecosystem, just because I think, frankly, those might be the things that actually draw more eyes to the protocol than the actual protocol itself. And so, obviously maybe that's not necessarily the correct way to look at it, but it is something that I would be interested to get your guys' feedback on. Do you guys like it? Do you find it helpful? What would you prefer I talk about instead or in addition to? Things like that. That's all really, really helpful information for me, particularly where we're in this kind of point in the market where not a whole lot's happening. Obviously ICP price is relatively boring, and I'm trying to find things that keep people interested and that people want to talk about and listen to. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.